Welcome to Musical Miles Podcast. I'm your host, Byron Duffin, and I am here with Mr. Ned LeDoux.
Hello.
Welcome.
Well, thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for taking the time out of your schedule. I know you guys are busy road warriors, so
Yeah.
we are here at the Stevens Performing Arts Center in Pocatello, Idaho, on the campus of Idaho State University.
What a pretty place, too.
Oh, it's beautiful.
My
So
first time here. And,
you've never been here? You've been to Idaho many times.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you just a quick little story. When I joined up with my dad playing drums,
Right.
Pocatello was the first show that I played.
Really?
Yeah, at the Dome or whatever back then.
Oh, at the Mini Dome.
Yeah.
Okay, which is now I don't know. They named it something. It's named after a.
Yeah, it's like the field house or where the
Yeah.
basketball team plays or something. But,
Okay, yeah,
So that would
yeah.
have been September of '98.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pocatello, Idaho.
And that
first
was your
show.
very first show with your dad.
Uh-huh.
That's cool. And you played with your dad from '98 to '05.
Yeah, well, the last show we played with Dad was in Kansas City at the Kemper Arena.
Okay.
It would have been October of '04.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
yeah, and he was pretty sick.
He was
so
pretty
that was
sick.
the last one we had with him.
Well, for those of you who are watching who don't know, so Ned is the son of Chris LeDoux, who was a fantastic singer-songwriter and incredible talented artist, and he was also a world champion bareback rider. Mm-hmm. And he had multiple other world championships. He started out in Little Britches with the world championship, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And then high school.
Uh-huh.
Did he have a high school national title?
Yeah, and then a collegiate.
And then a collegiate national title.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so he won them all. He won the Grand Slam.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm one of those guys that grew up. I bought my very first Chris LeDoux tape here at Vickers Western Store in Pocatello, Idaho.
Really?
And I wore out plenty.
Wore
of
out tape. Yeah.
Yeah, the wore out tape of Chris LeDoux, like Garth sings about.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
that was cool. So yeah, and we saw you play. We've actually seen you play at the South Bannock County Fair down in Downey.
Yeah.
A few years ago.
Yeah.
Took our daughter to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we saw you play at the BBR a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a treat to be invited to that deal.
Oh my gosh.
You know,
Yeah.
Yeah, and just the folks that they bring in every year, and we're just tickled to be invited, and but to get to know the Braun family, every time usually in Idaho, we try to get a hold of Muzzy and
You bet.
go play a round of golf with him or something like that.
Well, Muzzy's been a guest on the podcast.
Has he?
So
Yeah.
and we just had Gary a week ago. We interviewed Gary at his place in Buda, Texas.
Oh yeah.
While we were down there, and we're working on getting Mickey. Mickey's always the hard one because he's back in Boston
Yeah.
seeing his wife and daughter.
Sure.
So, but we've had, like I say, we've had Muzzy and we had Kip Attaway. You know Kip, and we've interviewed a bunch of the guys. This year at the BBR is kind of where we really got started. We did a couple interviews. We've only been doing this since mid-July, and we've probably got close to 50 interviews since then. So with different artists and venues and whatnot. So. So, but we did a bunch of them at the BBR this year. So we got Cody Canada and Django Walker. And we got some great interviews. Jeff Crosby, Darcy Carlson. And anyway,
Yeah, that's a great collection of talent right there.
oh man, and we actually got to see Cody and Jeff Crosby the other night at the Saxon in Austin. Walt Wilkins was playing, and so we went to see Walt play. And anyway, it's been a lot of fun. And so to get to add you to our roster of stars is pretty cool, and we appreciate you taking the time. So
I'm a horrible star.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Just
It's the drumming attitude, just I'm used to being in the back behind my fort,
Yeah. Well, so I was going to ask you about that. It's kind of on my list of things to talk about. You were a drummer for your dad in the Western Underground for
about 6.5 years.
6.5 years.
Yeah.
So, but prior to, obviously you just didn't pick up the sticks and get to sit behind your dad. So you
No.
played drums for how long? When did you start? How old were you?
I was probably 5 when I got my first kit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I remember when I was just a little kid, the first time I ever saw Dad play, and it was just him and I think some family members and some friends, and they were playing in a bus barn behind the high school, and I was maybe 3. I just remember everybody being a lot bigger than me, and it was loud, and everybody had a big smile on their face.
Yeah.
That looks kind of like fun. But then, a couple of years later, Dad and Mom would load us up in the family van, and we'd hit the road and see some of Dad's shows. And this is way before the major success came.
Right.
And so this would have been, Chris LeDoux and the Saddle Boogie Band.
Okay.
A whole different group of characters.
Okay. Was before the Western Underground.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the drummer at the time, Gary Kopinski, I would sit on the kind of the side of the stage and watch him sound check, and just my eyes would be on the drums the whole time because he had a huge drum kit, bright yellow, and loud, and it's like, man, that looks like fun. And so they'd get done sound check, and he'd kind of wave me over, so I'd run up there, and he'd hand me the sticks, and I'm just making a bunch of racket, and, just hitting everything I can. He said, well, hold on a minute, let me show you how to do something. So he taught me the basic parts of the drum kit, the kick, snare, and hi-hat.
Okay.
And I was able to kind of pick up on it fairly quick. I mean, my rhythm was all over the place, but But from that point on, I knew that's what I wanted to do. And it might sound kind of silly for a kid who was 5 or 6 years old to see the path out in front of him.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what I want to do. And
yeah.
So I got my own kit about 5 or 6 years old and took lessons for a couple of years, and I think I joined my first band when I was 14 or 15, and it was a local band based out of KC, Wyoming. It's called Cowtown.
Okay.
And we only played maybe a dozen gigs a year, and but it was a great place to start. And then after that, I graduated high school, and then I joined up with a band that was playing almost every weekend.
Okay.
It's called After the Rodeo Band.
Okay.
And we just played all over the state of Wyoming, and but yeah, a great way to get started and get me prepared for playing with Dad.
Oh yeah. Now you have there's 5 kids, so 4 siblings.
Mm-hmm.
You have an older brother.
Yeah, Clay,
and then you,
and then Will,
and
then Cindy, and then the youngest is Bo.
Okay. Now I know Will. I noticed Will's got some songwriting credits with you. Is that right?
Yeah, it might be just a title idea or something like that.
Okay.
And I did write a song with my big brother Clay.
Okay.
That's on, I think it was the last album. What's the name of that song? Rodeo.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Was it? I wrote them. I didn't write them all down, but let's see.
I'm just drawing a blank on my own songs.
Yeah, well, and I'm glad you're drawing the blank because I listened to a bunch of it. I've been listening to it. I tried to be prepared. As many people as we've interviewed in the last week. Well, just in Texas, that trip to Texas, we saw 47 different artists, whether they were, in a songwriter round, with 1 or 2 songs on a stage with 3 other artists or whatever, or a full band. We saw Jack Ingram, we saw Cody and the Departed play, but we saw 47 bands in 10 days. That's a lot of music.
Yeah, it is.
And then try and digest all that, and then remember who you saw and where you saw them. But because we saw people, I can't even tell you who they were.
Yeah.
Because they were in those situations, where there's 4 guys on the stage, and people would you need to meet this guy and interview this guy, and they're all great. I mean, that's the thing about Texas is that every rock you turn over, there's an incredibly talented artist.
That's right. Yep. Yeah.
And a cool venue.
Mm-hmm.
Just everywhere. So yeah. But anyway, so Clay Will or Clay, you said.
Clay. Yeah, we were texting back and forth, and he still lives in Wyoming. My whole family still lives in Wyoming. I'm the only one that
moved away, huh?
Yeah, left the nest and went to Kansas.
Sure.
But yeah, I was just texting with my brother Clay, and I had this song idea, and he said, yeah, it'd be cool to write a song with you someday. I said, well, here's this idea. And, and so he started throwing me some ideas back and forth. And, and he works for the highway, and so he's the snowplow guy.
Okay, yeah.
And so he's up before the sun out clearing the roads, and that's when I would get these songs, like an idea for a verse or a chorus, and at 6:30 in the morning, it's like, I guess I'm up now. That's really good. So I better get to work.
Well, the older you get, the less you will sleep. So
I'm already there.
You're there.
I'm already there.
And funny, I don't think about Kansas much, but we actually stayed in Hays, Kansas the other day on our way home. Mm-hmm. We actually had been to Perry, Oklahoma, and interviewed Brian White from the Damn Quails. Do you know Brian?
I don't.
Okay.
I mean, I've heard of those guys.
Yeah, talented guy. But anyway, we left his place and drove to Hays, and then we drove all the way from Hays home. It's 1,000 miles.
Yeah.
And it kicked our butt. So
yeah, that's a haul.
Yeah, but okay. So then, are any of the other siblings in the music industry at all?
No. But everybody can play something.
Oh, can they?
I guess I'm just the only one who wanted to pursue it as a way of living and
Sure.
a lifestyle, I guess.
Sure.
But my little brother, the middle kid, Will, he's been out selling merch.
Okay.
He's been a merch guy since he was probably 8 years old.
Oh, really? He
Yeah,
sold
'cause-
merch for your dad, huh?
Yeah, well, my mom sold merch in the beginning.
Okay.
And so me and a couple of my siblings would just kind of be back there to grab a T-shirt for her,
Sure.
bring in some more stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
But then eventually she, didn't want to do that anymore or whatever. And then it became just a family thing. Like
Sure.
my big brother Clay sold merch for probably 6 years.
Oh, wow.
And then after that, that's when my brother Will stepped up. And
Okay.
he's actually got a degree in sports science, but he would
really?
rather do this.
He'd rather sell. So he works for you on the merch side of things?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And he's creative too.
Yeah.
That stuff. We were just talking about, a new idea for a shirt this morning. And
Okay.
so yeah, I got some new stuff in the works. But yeah.
Well, I think you got to keep it fresh. I look at the stack of T-shirts that I buy. I've bought over the years, and some of them get pretty tired. But like I say, as many shows as we go to, it's hard to afford to buy a T-shirt at every show you go to.
Yeah, and
or pay for a ticket to every show you go to, right?
And we try to keep our merch to a kind of a minimum.
Yeah.
I mean, we do a lot of fly dates, and my brother who lives in Wyoming, he'll bring out 3 gigantic suitcases full of merch.
Oh, really?
I was like, so where's the clothes you're gonna wear?
I got them on.
They're in my backpack. That's it. But, so yeah, we try to keep it simple to where when people come to the merch table, they're not overwhelmed.
Right.
By, 30 koozies and 10 T-shirts and 20 ball caps.
Well, some of that's overwhelming, but I always tell everybody, and we always share this on the podcast with everybody, is that look, that merch is how most artists are filling their vans full of gas to get to the next one, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, you the way the music industry has changed in the last 15, 20 years because of digital downloads, you're not making any money off that stuff. You're making it touring
Yeah, that's for
and
sure.
and merch.
Yeah. I kind of discovered that when I first kind of got into singing and everything. It was really just kind of an experiment. Like, I wonder if I could do this.
Sure.
So I wonder if people are going to show up, and by golly, they did. But so I'd go out, I'd throw the guitar in the back seat and a box full of merch, and
Yeah.
and most of the time I'd make more with the merch than I would
with
the
the
gig.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and I always tell them too, don't forget that tip jar's up front for a
Yeah.
reason. Throw $20 in the tip
Sure.
jar. It doesn't kill you.
Yeah.
It's something that really helps. And most people don't understand. Everybody thinks that because you're in the music business, and your dad sold 6 million units, right?
Yeah, something like
that's
that.
a lot. That's a lot. But the reality of it is, unless you're writing the music and you have a publishing deal and all that stuff, I mean, I don't know. There's the music industries. We're learning a lot, and we still know this much.
Yeah.
It's pretty complex.
It is. Yep. Rodeo Dreams. That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the one I wrote with my brother Clay.
Okay.
Yeah, he was on the snowplow and I was in the basement.
There you go. Well, speaking of rodeo dreams, and with your dad being a world champion, did you kids ever ride bucking horses or rope or?
The only one that took after it was the youngest one, Bo.
Okay.
He rode bareback horses, and of course he had a great coach, to help him out.
Sure.
And he did a wonderful job.
Yeah.
He could ride them.
Really?
But as for myself, I got into music at such a young age. I
Sure.
mean, that was my focus.
That was your focus.
I mean, I got on a few steers, me and my buddies, and
Yeah.
the county fair or whatever.
Sure.
It's like, man, I think I'll just stick to music.
Well, and I can see that. I mean, I was tore up by the horse deal for years. I mean, all I wanted to do was rope, and and then I rode cutting horses, and I just loved the horse deal. And then as I got older, your ideals change, and the things you do change. And with our kids, our kids rodeoed and stuff, and then they grew up and moved away, and then I got more into guns. I shot and hunted with my dad and stuff. But man, the last couple of years, it's been guitars.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I started to play 50 years ago and then didn't stick with it. My parents bought me a guitar when I was in about 14 and just never really stuck it out. And then Shanda bought me a new guitar probably 8 or 10 years ago. Our youngest kid was going to take some guitar lessons, and so we both got new guitars and we started playing.
Cool.
But didn't stick with it. Again, I just but in December I decided I'm going to make myself do that. I mean, there's no excuse with the apps and whatnot. And so
Yeah.
And so I play every day. I actually, so we have and I should have told you this before we started this. I'm going to ask you to play me a song here in a little bit at the end, if that's okay. I should have had you check the tuning. I played it this morning. It's probably out of tune, but
we'll figure it out.
But anyway, Teton Guitars out of Idaho Falls gives us these guitars, and then we have the artists play us a song and then autograph them. So we've already filled one up since mid-July. So
cool.
So anyway, it's been fun. But I play every day, and I'm getting to where I can play a handful of songs, kind of start to finish, but I don't sing very good. So let's talk about your albums, because your first one, you did an EP in 2015, right? Well, I guess we got to back up, because you came from behind the drums. Mm-hmm. And out center stage. What kind of moved you out there? It was after your dad passed, or?
Yeah, well, singing was never even an idea. I mean, I just wanted to be a drummer for beyond forever. That's what I wanted to do. But yeah, and I've been playing guitar for probably 25 years now. Just self-taught. I mean, I'm sure everybody could probably tell that I'm self-taught. But yeah, when Dad passed away, I joined up with a different band. It was Dustin Evans and the Good Times Band, based out of South Dakota.
Okay.
And I got to be really good friends with them over the years, because they'd opened up for Dad. I think Timo, the keyboard player, said, "Yeah, we opened up for your dad almost 30 times now." And
wow.
So we'd see him a lot.
Sure.
And so Dustin was probably one of the first guys who called me up, after Dad's passing. He said, "Hey, man, the job's yours if you want it." I said, "When's the next gig? Because I need to get out and play." Because music for me is like therapy.
Sure, I think it is for everybody.
I can't just sit around and I got to get out there and do what I do.
Sure.
And so I think it was that gig. It was Lincoln, Nebraska. It was the first one with him, and we did a Friday and Saturday night. And we got back to the hotel, and we were just kind of hanging out, and Dustin drags out his acoustic and starts playing a few songs. We got a few friends at the hotel, and so he gets up to go get a beer and hands me the guitar and goes, "Here, why don't you sing one of your dad's songs?" I was like, "Man, I don't sing. What are you talking? Sing? Me?" I said, "Well, I'll hold this guitar for you." And so I'm just kind of puttering around on it, and he finally comes back. He goes, "Well, do you know this song or this song?" I said, "I know the words to most all of them. I just don't sing."
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there with him, just kind of mumbling along with a couple of these songs. But I was driving back home that Sunday, and it's a long way from Lincoln, Nebraska to Casey, Wyoming, 700 and something miles.
Oh my, yeah.
So you get a lot of time to, think to yourself and work things out, come up with ideas,
Yeah.
And so I was just kind of thinking that might be kind of fun, to just learn a handful of songs, to where if I'm sitting around a cheap motel room or a campfire and there's a guitar being passed around, I don't have to just hand it to the next guy. Maybe I could just get a hold of it and play something.
Sure.
And so the only songs I ever bothered learning were Dad's songs. I never gave it a thought to learn anybody else's. And I think the first song I learned was Rodeo Man.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me the better part of a day to get through the whole thing without too many mess ups.
Sure.
And then, I just kind of started.
I'm surprised you didn't learn Copenhagen first.
Well, that came later. Yeah. I was just trying to figure out the chord progressions and all that stuff too.
Well, that's the tricky part, even with me, and I'll play, and my fingers get so damn sore, I'll have to put it down. I'll play for an hour or something.
You got to keep after it, work them calluses up.
Well, and I've worked them up, but man, they still get sore. Yeah. And I'm pushing the strings too hard, but anyway.
Yeah. Maybe the action's a little too high.
It may be. It may be.
I don't know.
Yeah, I got 4 guitars in the office now, so I trade around on them, and
I'm a real big guitar expert anyway.
Well,
I'm a drummer that just beats the hell out of it. And maybe hopefully something sounds good.
Yeah.
But during Western Underground shows, Western Underground was still going out and playing a handful of gigs every year, just kind of in tribute to Dad.
Sure.
So during those shows, I would get up and sing the one song that I knew, and eventually, people started asking if I'd like to do a solo gig, like in these little dive bars.
Right.
I was like, how long do you want me to play?
Sure.
Because I'm not.
You're going to have to learn some more songs.
I'm not a bar band act. I can't play 3 or 4 hours a night.
Right.
And they said, well, we got a band coming in and maybe you could just open for him. So like 45 minutes. Yeah, I could probably do 45 minutes, you know. So I'm rehearsing all this stuff in my basement, and I get up there and I do a sound check, which only took about 5 minutes. I was like, man, there's a big difference from being a drummer and now I'm a singer. I mean, with a drummer, you know, you got all this equipment, you know, cases, and then you're setting it all up. It just takes forever. But yeah, just for a solo act, it's like, hey, check 1, 2, strum. Okay, we're good. Go hang at the hotel and have something to eat.
Right.
But I remember sitting out in front of this little dive bar, you know, probably 30 minutes before I was supposed to go on, and I'm thinking, what have I got myself into? I mean, there's nothing for me to hide behind. You know, I'm going to be right there to look at them. And I mean, there was probably 7 or 8 people there during sound check, you know, to eat. And when I walked in, the place was packed, and I was so relieved when the show got over with. It's like, whew, okay, I did it. And so I turned around. I was going to put my guitar back in the case and got it all closed up. And I got up and turned back around, and there's probably all the people that were in there were all lined up to
shake
my
your
hand,
get an autograph. Yeah.
And it's like, well, shoot, if you guys are going to show up and spend your hard-earned money, I better figure this out and get better at it. So, and I remember telling myself, like, man, if I ever get the chance to do that again, I know I can do better than what I just did.
Sure.
Know? So I had to, you know, cut my teeth on it. First, but
well, I got to tell you, and I'm sure you hear this all the time, but I mean, I have a hard time telling you and your dad apart. When I'm listening to a song, I'm going, okay, is this Chris or is this Ned?
Yeah,
because you sound so much like him.
I get that all the time, and I always have the same response. It's probably the best, you know, compliment I could get. You know, because I never like recorded my voice and thought, okay, I need to try to sing like this or bring that down or whatever.
You just sing what comes natural.
Out.
Yeah. Which is, I think, probably what your dad did. I mean,
sure.
You know, I mean, it just.
And his voice kind of changed over the years. You know, you listen to those really early records and then fast forward, you know, 20 years or whatever, and his voice did change and I guess kind of mature over time.
Right. Well, and obviously he was playing and performing even while he was still rodeoing. When he kind of was the end of his rodeo career, he kind of got started. Well, he started in the early 70s, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he would just release records but he never really played any shows, to my understanding. He was just writing these songs and putting out albums, and then my grandpa LeDoux was kind of like his manager and producer,
right?
And saw that these albums are actually selling pretty good, and so he thought, well, maybe he could do like 2 a year.
Okay.
And it kind of burnt Dad out in the studio. You know? So like one album might be mostly original stuff, then he'd do another album of covers. Yeah. You know,
but he didn't do very many covers. I mean, he did some. I didn't realize that This Old Hat was he didn't write that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, This Cowboy's Hat.
Yeah, This Cowboy's Hat. That's a great song, but I didn't, for some reason I thought. But as I went through your records, your albums, you wrote the lion's share of that with your dad or with Mac McAnally, right?
Yeah. And as far as like Dad's input on it or whatever, he left behind what I call the box of thoughts.
Okay.
And so I remember it wasn't long after he passed away, and my mom was in his office, you know, just kind of doing some cleaning and organizing and stuff. And she pulls out this cardboard box, and it was full of all this paperwork, but everything was all handwritten. So what is this? And it was all song ideas. Nothing was finished. It was just little ideas, little notes that he wrote down. And so what she did, she hand selected maybe a dozen different sheets and made copies and sent them to Dad's management, thinking, well, maybe somebody in Nashville, you know, a songwriter would like to try to finish one of these. And Mark Sissel, who works for the management, turned around and got a hold of me and said, well, man, why don't you try to finish one of these ideas? And I said, Mark, that's a great idea, but I've never written a song in my life, you know, and this is you know, in 05, I guess, the fall of 05, somewhere in there. So I kind of played around with a couple of these thoughts that Dad had. But then Mac McAnally, who's also with the same management,
Yeah, and an
found out
incredible
about
songwriter.
what I was trying to do, and he invited me down to his place, and he said, well, which one are you working on? I said, this one about a rusty pickup truck. He goes, that's the same one I'm working on too. And so sat down with him for an hour and a half, and we finished a brand new song co-written with Dad. And it's called We Ain't Got It All, and it's on the first album.
That's cool.
That was my introduction to songwriting.
Well, you know what's interesting? I've had this conversation with a lot of songwriters about their process. You know, how do you do this? You know, do you some people wake up every morning and journal. Mm-hmm. You know, and they may do, you know, their journal may include who they're mad at or their grocery list, but they're right every day. And then others are just like, nah, when I get an idea, I maybe dictate it on my phone or whatever. Do you have a process or?
There's a lot of pacing back and forth, but I'm not like the songwriter's songwriter, you know, because I mean, I'm not going to sit down once a day, once a week, once a month. You know, if an idea comes to me, and they usually come in the oddest moments.
Right.
I mean, I'll be out mowing the yard or running a chainsaw or all this loud noise going on, and I'll think of something. And I'll shut everything down, and I'll take my phone out and just type that little note in there. Then I'll get back to the job that I was doing. But I usually just take a lot of notes, and once I feel it's time to start getting into that songwriting mode, you know, I just kind of dump them all out on my table in the basement.
Okay.
Grab my guitar and just try to glue some things together. But it's a process for me.
Sure. So have you spent a lot of time with Mac? Because I know Mac's also produced your albums, right? The last couple albums.
He's produced everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
What was your question?
Have you spent a lot of time writing with Mac?
I think just the first couple albums.
Okay.
But I never sit down with him. I only did that one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's we just send each other notes, kind of like you and your brother.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, of course, Mac, you know, he lives in Nashville, and I'm in Kansas, and that's the way I've done it with like me and Willie Braun wrote one together.
Okay.
And we just did it via text message.
What song has that been?
That's on the last album too. It's the last track called "Damn Good Cowboy."
Okay.
And I wrote another one with Corb Lund.
Yeah, I listened to that one today, actually.
Yeah, Dance with Your Spurs On.
Yes, I love that song. That's kind of cool. And I love Corb. You know, we've seen him a few times. So.
Yeah.
He's so talented.
He's such a good guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, like with Mac, he's such a great guy to, you know, toss ideas back and forth with. And And so I might have a kind of a rough song. You know, it might have all the pieces there, but I'll throw it to him and say, well, what do you think of this? You know, I'm open to suggestions.
Sure.
And sometimes they'll say, man, that doesn't really need much more. And then there'll be other ones like, well, let me kind of live with this one for a little bit. I think I got an idea.
Yeah.
And he always makes it so much better. And he's the kind of guy, he also produced the last 3 albums that Dad put out.
Okay.
And of course, everybody knows he was Jimmy Buffett's right-hand man for 30-something years, I think. And so he's the kind of songwriter who can write songs about the islands and palm trees and sailboats, and turn around and write a song about bucking horses and living on a ranch.
Living on a ranch in Wyoming.
Yeah. Because, he wrote Horsepower, the song for Dad.
Okay.
But, yeah, just a great guy to work with.
Oh, that's cool. So where did you record those albums?
All of them in Nashville.
They've all been done in Nashville.
3 out of the 4 were at Sony Tree.
Okay.
I can't remember the one, but yeah, Sony Tree in Nashville.
Okay.
But yeah, actually got a brand new album on the way.
You do. I was going to ask you what you got going. Now, is this all original work or
on this one? By the time it comes out, it's going to be a little over 3 years since the last album came out.
Okay. Yeah. 22.
I just got
right. 22 was the last one.
Yeah, March of 22, I think.
Yeah, that was the
Buckskin.
Buckskin. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But on this one, you know, like you said, you know, on my first 3 albums, I wrote the majority of the songs.
Sure.
And I love listening to everybody else's stuff. If stuff is sent to me, I'll definitely listen to it.
Yeah.
But I'm really picky on what I'm going to record because it's got to fit with what I'm doing.
Sure.
But a good song is a good song.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to be about rodeo or ranching and living in the country. Because I've written songs just about traveling, or there's a song on Buckskin called "Hey Hey."
Right.
It's just I was listening to a lot of Buddy Holly and Chuck Berry, I think,
Right.
like a couple of weeks prior to that.
Sure.
And it's like, I don't know, it might be kind of fun to play live. You know, it's a little different, but
Yeah.
it's just a fun, make you happy type of song.
Yeah. Yeah.
But on this new album, it's kind of cut down the middle. You know, I wrote half of them, and then the other half came from outside writers,
Okay.
whether they be, you know, friends of mine or somebody who knows them from management or whatever. But I think it's going to be a good one.
Good. And when will that release?
It's going to be April 4th.
Of this upcoming April?
This coming year.
In 25.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's good. That gives you some new material. So are you playing some of it in the shows now, or are you kind of holding tight to it?
Yeah. Well, Mac is still kind of in the mixing process.
Okay.
And he's a busy guy. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, since Buffett passed, you know, he's been going out with the Coral Reefer Band and doing some kind of tribute shows. And,
Right.
And then he's also doing his own thing. He does these solo gigs. Him and his percussion player, Eric Darkin, just go out and play. But I saw him in the studio, you know, a couple of months ago. I said, "Man, you're busy." He goes, "Yeah, we're doing like 75 shows this year."
Wow.
Wow.
Well, that's a lot for a guy like Mac, because he's busy doing producing and stuff. And,
Yeah. I always kind of called him the most wanted man in Nashville, because he's one of the best producers, songwriters, and 10 times CMA Musician of the Year.
Right.
I mean, nobody's ever won it that many times.
Yeah. He's incredibly talented, and love to watch him perform. I've not got to see him live personally, but you know, seen a lot of video and stuff of him, and well aware of him. So
yeah, we did a pop-up show after my I think my second album, Next in Line, came out. We just got done in the studio doing vocal tracks and everything, and management thought it'd be kind of a cool idea if we did a little pop-up show down on Lower Broad in Nashville at Old Reds.
Yeah.
I guess Blake Shelton's place.
Blake's place, yeah. We've been there, actually, yeah.
It's pretty cool,
Yeah, he's got that tractor hanging upside down in there.
Oh, that's right, yeah. So me and Mac jump up on stage in front of a pretty big crowd that was already there. They didn't know we were going to be doing anything.
Yeah.
And so we kind of introduced ourselves, and so I play one of my rodeo songs, you know, and everybody's like, "Who's this guy?" And then I turn it over to Mac, and he does a medley of like number one songs he's done.
Right.
How am I supposed to follow that? You know?
Right.
It's just, and there's songs that he's written, you know, that went to number one that he wrote for other people.
Sure.
Like, wow, you're the one who wrote that. You know,
see, people, and this is what we've been exposed to that just in the last month or so. We went to, like I said, to Livingston, and then I went to Whitefish, Montana, and then I went to Dripping Springs, Texas, and we got to see Walt Wilkins, and we interviewed a guy named J.D. Graham. I don't know if you know J.D. From Arizona, but talented guy and got a great story. But anyway, but I love that songwriter deal because it's way more intimate. You know, I mean, we come to your show, it's great, I love it. But or go to the BBR, there's 3,500, 4,000 people there. But go to Country Jam and there's 40,000.
Yeah,
I just, to me, it's overwhelming, and it's a little bit of a sensory overload. Like you say, when you've been doing these shows and you get on in the truck by yourself and you're driving back to Kansas, going, it's nice to sometimes just even turn the radio off.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, just drive in silence. And I find myself doing that because, you know, it gets a little overwhelming. How many shows a year are you doing?
You know, I don't really know for sure. I never really counted them up. I would guess, I don't know, 50, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Okay.
And they're pretty spread out. You know, our busy times of the year is like June to maybe mid-October.
Okay.
And then, but we have a lot of just scattered dates. We call them fly dates.
Sure.
And we always seem to round out the year in Vegas for the NFR.
I saw that. Well, we'll be there. Shanda works for Stetson Clothing. She's been there for at the NFR. This will be her 18th year at the NFR. So we're always there. And I saw your schedule, and I knew you're always there.
Yeah.
So we'll try and maybe sneak over and see you. You're at the Silverton for 2 days, right?
Yeah, the Silverton's always treated us so good.
Yeah.
They got some really good places to eat in there too.
There's a lot of good.
There's no need to really leave the place.
No, there's a lot of good food in Vegas. So you don't ever get over to the Thomas and Mack and go watch the rodeo, or
we have before.
Unless it's real convenient, it's kind of a pain.
It's just kind of hard to make it work because we'd have to leave after the bronc riding, right? Because I remember because we played the Silverton with Dad for 3 years as well.
Okay.
And I remember me and my brother Will, we'd got some tickets to the rodeo, and we get to see everything up until like the end of the bronc ride, and
it's time
which
to go.
worked out because
Sure.
nobody's leaving, so it was
Right.
easy to get a cab
Yeah.
back to
Yeah.
where we needed to be. But they always have like a live feed, like before our show. And
Every hotel has them. Yeah.
so we go on right after the last bull is out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we love going to Vegas. It's been we've gone. I don't know how many. She's worked there for 18 years, and I've worked there with the rope companies, right? And then off and on over the years. But now I just go down and be a kept man, and so she works, and I get to hang out. So this year we're going to work on some interviews while we're there. We're hoping to get some stuff worked out. We're hoping to get to interview Chauncey Williams and Chancey, and we'd love to try and get to interview Ryan Bingham and some of those other guys. I got a couple of connections through that Yellowstone deal. I got some friends who worked on that with Ryan. So you never know. We never knew whether we would be able to interview Ned LeDoux either.
I'm glad it worked out.
Well, I'm really glad it did. This has been a lot of fun, and you've been more than gracious with us with your time. Would you play us a song?
Sure.
There's a capo on there, and there's a pick there if you need it.
Actually, that sounds pretty good.
All right. Well, I've not had anybody play those that they all like the sound of that guitar. So, and you can just play whatever comes to mind.
Let's see. Well, we were talking about Corb.
Yeah.
We'll do Dance with Your Spurs On.
There you go.
Well, take your coffee bitter, cook your beefsteak rare, drink your whiskey straight, draw to all your pairs, pack the quickest pistol, break the toughest broncs, speak your piece with wisdom, sing your cowboy songs, and dance with your spurs on, twirl the girls around, tip your hat when that whistle blows as you win your last go-round. Dance with your spurs on, 'cause the ride ain't all that long. May your rowels still be spinning as they lay you in the ground. May your spirit never grumble. Learn from your mistakes. If your life should ever stumble, may your cinch not ever break. And move your cattle easy. Treat your partner square. Rein your pony gentle. And play your hand out fair. Dance with your spurs on. Twirl the girls around. Tip your hat when that whistle blows as you win your last go-round. Dance with your spurs on, 'cause the ride ain't all that long. May your rowels still be spinning as they lay you in the ground. And now we know you fought some battles. We're all here gathered round. The truth is on the tombstone. You never let nobody down. This is the solo part. So dance with your spurs on, twirl the girls around, tip your hat when that whistle blows as you win your last go-round. Dance with your spurs on, 'cause the ride ain't all that long. May your rowels still be spinning as they lay you in the ground. May your rowels still be spinning as they lay you in the ground. Yes, sir.
Awesome. That was so good. Thank you so much. Yeah. I gotta work on my hammer-ons and some of that stuff. I'm getting to where, because the thing of it is, if a guy knows, C, G, D, E minor, A minor, you can play hundreds of songs, right?
Yeah. Well, when I was learning, Dad's songs, I think the only chord, you could play a lot of his songs just D, G, A.
Really?
Yeah.
And I struggle with the A a little bit, stacking those fingers together, but But no, it's been something fun. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I go fix my coffee, and I head into the office and shut Shanda's door so she doesn't have to listen to me, and I'll sit in there and play on that thing for an hour or so, and then throughout the day, I'm always pull one down off the wall or out of the rack and play. And
well, at least you didn't pick up on the fiddle.
yeah. We had our middle boy played the fiddle for a little while, and he had and we've got some kids. Shanda's mother was a songwriter from Arizona, and so she has some natural ability in her family, on her side of the family. None whatsoever on my side, none. But our kids, the oldest one loves heavy metal stuff, so he was kind of a screamer, you know, and he tried to play guitar a little bit, and I've worked with his girls a little bit. I'm trying to get my granddaughters to start playing, but anyway, but Breck, our middle boy, and our youngest boy, they have the most music inclination, you know.
Yeah.
They got good ears, natural ear, and I'm tone deaf, so and one reason I quit playing, Ned, I couldn't ever keep the damn thing in tune. You know, and of course I had it wasn't old, it was new. They bought it, but it was a Yamaha, and it was not an expensive. I still have it. In fact, it's up getting the neck reset on it. Maybe they can fix it and I can play it.
Just get one of those little tuners you put up on the headstock. You know, my guitar's got it built in.
I have two of them that have them built in, but but you know what? I use the one on my phone more than anything.
Oh yeah,
you know, because those are handy, and I've got it out because I've got, you know, the
and they also make a
guitar.
pedal too. You plug it into your guitar,
right.
And you got a pedal, and then you can tune it.
And it'll tune right to that. So that's what I see those guys doing up on stage when you're doing it through your pedal.
Yeah, it mutes your guitar, then you tune it, then you click the pedal again, then it unmutes it. But,
yeah. Well, it's been a lot of fun, and I've enjoyed it, and really truly have enjoyed this podcast deal. Has been a lot of fun. Where can we find your music?
You can go to nedledoux.com.
Okay.
And then we're on all the social media platforms as well, Spotify and Pandora and all that stuff too.
Okay.
So,
okay, cool.
But the first single off the new album will be out December 4th.
Oh, fun. All right. So you'll release it right before Vegas.
Yeah.
Because you play
the 5th and 6th.
You play the 5th and 6th. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be there because we go the day or two after Thanksgiving, and so she's there for 16 days or something. And so
it's going to be a perfect song for the kickoff to NFR too. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And once again, thank you so much for taking time to sit down with us. It's
Absolutely.
been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And next time you talk to your buddy Corb, tell him I'm going to reach out to him. Tell him it won't kill him if he'll sit down with me in Vegas.
I'm actually going to see him the day after tomorrow.
Are you really?
Yeah, we're going to be in Edmonton.
Oh yeah, you do go from here to Edmonton.
So he's actually got a show tomorrow night. And then he's got a night off the night we play, so he's going to swing by and see us. And then he plays at the same place on Sunday, I think.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, put a bug in his ear. I'll send him a message through his management, but like we did you. But we'd love to sit down with him. He's such a cool dude.
He is.
We've seen him at the BBR, and we saw him in at the old Hard Rock, the Virgin. He played with Ryan Bingham.
Oh yeah,
a couple of years ago. A friend of ours gave us tickets to go see him, and so I love the heck out of his music.
I do too. Yeah. He writes songs that nobody in this world would ever come up with.
No, Bible on the Dash is
the subject matter is.
Yeah,
that's great.
He's got it quite. And I don't know. Do you know Todd Snyder at all?
I know of him. I love his stuff.
Same deal. Just a storyteller, you know, just in his subject matter is, you know, the Devil's Backbone Tavern. You know, we went there while we were there a couple of weeks ago. We drove out to the Devil's Backbone Tavern because we wanted to feature it, and I couldn't get the owner to sit down with me. So, but anyway, no, I love those. That's what I love about songwriters and the story and the backstories why you wrote those songs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
So.
Well, this was fun.
Well, thank you again, man. We look forward to seeing you in Vegas.
Yeah.
Safe travels. Good luck with your show tonight. I'm sure you'll have lots of people and.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah. Oh,
it's a beautiful.
Oh,
theater.
This is a beautiful facility. It's such a cool deal. This is a little different from the South Bingham County Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to wear a tie here.
Trust me, they'll show up in their shorts and flip flops.
Yeah,
Somebody will.
Yeah, they'll be driving in their feed trucks with their cake feeders on there.
That's right. Well, hey, thanks again.
All right. Well,
we look
thank you.
forward to seeing you down the road.
Okay.
Hey, for Musical Miles Podcast, I'm your host, Byron Duff. And make sure you follow us on YouTube. Click that button down there so you don't miss out this when we release this interview with Ned and everybody else we've done. So thanks for following us. We'll see you somewhere down the road. Adios.